And if everyone could please mute their lines. Thank you.
Then after we are all set on the live stream, I will press record and we can get started. Share the presentation.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the District 7 Oakland Coliseum Development discussion. Thank you all for joining with our office tonight as we come together to hear from our city's Economic Workforce Development Department leaders, the Dave Stewart and Lonnie Murray Group, an African American Sports Entertainment Group, also known as AASEG. They are joining us to really take part in this important conversation regarding the future of our Oakland Coliseum development area. We appreciate their participation with presentations and response to your questions on their proposed vision and community benefits, and we look forward to hearing from you all, especially our District 7 neighbors and businesses that I represent on City Council. I am Treva Reid, the council member for District 7 East Oakland, where our Oakland Coliseum development site is located. And we have an incredible opportunity to develop and create a living legacy for generations to come at this 120-acre site. The Coliseum development area we're discussing tonight, it will also ignite and help further leverage opportunities for us to advance our council-approved 800-acre Coliseum specific area plan that includes this site and should be planned, as we have heard from our community, with significant benefits to the city and especially our East Oakland neighbors and businesses. I have to say, it is our time, East Oakland. Yes, this is our moment to rebuild, to restore, and to refund our community with increased investment and much needed revitalization. We have been waiting with great expectation and anticipation for this project and this site to deliver for us, as we have seen investments rising around us. Generational wealth equity and ownership is a top priority for our office in serving you and this development delivering for our community, again, particularly for those of us in the surrounding area of East Oakland. In District 7, we have seen the disproportionate impact of COVID-19. Our district has and is still experiencing the highest rate of diagnosis, hospitalizations, and death, unemployment, housing instability, food insecurity, as well as we know the rising threat of violent crime and the fear that has terrorized us. We need community benefits and ownership opportunities to uplift us, and through this public land that will bring us together in ways that we have yet to fully realize. I have been committed to keeping you engaged with our community-driven process through City Council and community meetings, advocating for your voice, your vision on our goals, our policies, and development standards and environmental regulations to ensure that the highest and best use of our public land is realized. So your voice tonight is continuing a priority for us as we confirm a development partner and work with that partner to create a plan that will allow your voice to lead in and lean in on the strong economic engine with focused community ownership opportunities, economic empowerment with entrepreneurial opportunities, more deeply affordable housing and housing solutions, family sustaining job growth, open space, entertainment. The visions are limitless with development vitality that does not displace our residents, our churches, our businesses, and especially those in close proximity to this incredible site and transit hub. Tonight's discussion is coming ahead of tomorrow's City Council meetings, where my colleagues and I will vote to authorize the city administrator to enter up to a 2-year exclusive negotiating agreement, also known as an ENA, with one of the two proposers that you will hear from tonight. If you would like to attend tomorrow's council meeting at 1:30 p.m., To hear the discussion continue on this item, we ask that you log in with the link that our staff will provide you in the chat. This is the largest economic engine in East Oakland. This is our Oakland Coliseum. It will be a critical factor in ensuring that our community not only has a just recovery, but that we are able to truly build us back better. With ownership, as I shared, we're excited to see those opportunities carved out for our community as the terms are negotiated through the ENA process. This Coliseum is going to spur economic development. It's going to serve as a safe venue for entertainment and family gatherings and provide the jobs that we need to keep us deeply rooted in Oakland. And so I'm excited with you to hear from each of the proposers, and I'm excited to hear from you. As we listen in on their vision, we want to hear how it is aligned with your vision, your ideas, and the community benefits that we often hear from you at neighborhood, crime prevention council meetings, HOA meetings, faith-based meetings, and through council conversations and meetings. So let's get started as we move forward. There are going to be some just general ground rules on how we'll be respectful as we learn and share just the constructive insight that we'll hear from the proposers and how we'll pose those questions to them. If your question is for a specific team, we ask you to please reference that in your remarks in the chat. Please be cognizant of time as we have allotted 45 minutes for the session that we're in right now before 30 to 45 minutes of Q&A. So we may extend beyond 7:30 by about 10 to 15 minutes of time. Let me also introduce you to our team and ensuring that those who are listening, I apologize that I did not stop to share this first. I will have Rosa Velasquez from our team ensure that those who have joined in, who are Spanish speaking, are aware of how to connect for that translation service that is supported today by Rosa Velasquez, Sylvia Guzman, and Giovanni Hernandez.
Rosa, would you like to jump in?
We will continue. I realize that our Spanish interpretation is available. Click on the icon below, and it will guide you to select the appropriate area of distinguishing English and Spanish to hear the conversation in Spanish. These are some announcements that we want you to stay connected beyond tonight's conversation. We have some upcoming city council meetings where more critical discussions will be had, particularly as it relates to public works and addressing illegal dumping and blight, and working to ensure that the Privacy Advisory Commission will approve the release of cameras for hotspots in our business corridors for increased enforcement as we work to educate, eradicate, and invest more in keeping our community, our streets, our neighborhoods clean, and holding those accountable who are not leaving it in the best condition. We also have some really key conversations coming up as it relates to public safety. And we need to hear from you, especially East Oakland, as we're making decisions and considering and weighing options with how we will more deeply invest in public safety resources that keep you protected, safe, and at peace with the rising threat of violence and crime around us. And then we will have discussions that we encourage many of you, and we know that there are meetings taking place tonight for redistricting. Your participation in these upcoming redistricting commission hearings, providing input on the district maps, are critical to how we will have the district boundaries established for city council, school board directors, and a number of initiatives within that redistricting process. So please provide your public testimony, and we will ensure that those links are dropped into the chat. I'll introduce my team as we move into introducing the teams who are joined with us. Rosa Velasquez and Haley Hester are district representatives. Kiana Gums is our communications director. Their contact information is provided. We hope that you will reach out to engage us. Haley takes the lead below. International to the waterfront, the Coliseum area is in her district. She will be a primary point of contact for our office with community partners and discussions that we will be having beyond tonight's meeting. And let's introduce our team from the city. Tonight, we are joined by Larry Gallegos, our redevelopment program manager, and Kelly Kahn. They will get into further details about where the city is in the process, where we are in the process of negotiations, and give you more historical background perspective on this land and how we are moving forward with the two teams that you will hear from today. So we welcome you, Larry and Kelly.
Thank you, Councilmember Reid. Happy to be here this evening to share with you some background, also some timeline, and also some agreements and certain situations we have existing at the Coliseum. First off, again, Larry Gallegos with the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. Essentially, the site as we know it is the 7,000 Coliseum Way site. It's roughly 112 acres. It's actually comprised of two parcels, one where the actual Coliseum itself sits, and that's roughly around 104 acres or so. And then there's a separate parcel where the arena sits as well, and that's an additional 8 acres. So together they combine roughly 112 acres. The site is roughly bounded by the Damon Slough to the north and also to the east. And then South Elmhurst Creek runs towards the south. And then it's bounded by Coliseum Way to the west. So that's the property that we're talking about this evening. Some of you may have some questions about what are the existing bond debt amounts on the actual facilities themselves. It's been a topic of past conversation over the years. Currently, the city and county have been paying down that existing bond debt on both facilities. There's one that's for the Coliseum itself, and that's roughly around a little under $24 million. Those bonds become payable and due by the end of 2026. And then the arena has an additional roughly 24 million as well. And those bonds are due by 2025. As far as existing licenses on the site, the A's are at the location until the end of the 2024 season. There has been some discussions about possible extensions if Howard Terminal's not ready. So that's a possibility as well. And just in terms of a brief timeline, as far as what actions have been taken, I won't go too far back, but I think I'll start roughly towards the end of 2019, because that's where a lot of things started to pick up in terms of the activity. So back in December of 2019, most of you already know that the A's and county entered into a development agreement. And that was for the county's 50% undivided interest in the site. And so back at that same time in December of 2019, the city also issued what they call a notice of availability, or a NOAA. And that's because of the State Surplus Lands Act process. So all public agencies are required to notify public entities and housing sponsors before they intend to dispose of a site. So the city did that back in December of 2019. And it was kind of a time period which was sort of in between the old law and the new law, because as of January 1st, 2020, AB 1486 kicked in, and that was the new additional law for the Surplus Lands Act. So what that required was some additional changes to the existing law. So the city was sort of straddling both time periods. But nonetheless, council in beginning of January 2020, they ratified a reso authorizing the Coliseum property as surplus, which gave us the authority to go ahead and release it as a surplus site. Then towards the end of January 2020, the city received one response as a result of that. And staff, negotiated with that party. And the law basically says that you open up the period for 60 days. And if you receive any responses, you're required to negotiate in good faith for an additional 90 days. And just because of the pandemic and the situation, we extended that period until June of that year. And then sort of fast forwarding to July of this year, that's when council authorized a resolution to negotiate with 5 parties non-exclusively. And most of you know all the parties that at that time staff was told to negotiate with, essentially consisting of AASEG, Dave Stewart and Lonnie Murray Group, the Renaissance companies, the Trip Development, as well as the A's. And so also in July, through closed session, council decided to narrow down that list to only 2 parties, which is what we have this evening and are negotiating with. Also at that time, council gave us up to 6 months to negotiate the disposition of the property. And then also in July, council also provided an additional reso authorizing continued negotiations with AASEG, which brings us to tomorrow afternoon. And as Councilmember Reid indicated, council will be deciding on the future fate of the Coliseum with regards to the city's 50% undivided interest. So just real quickly, what is an ENA? Many of you hear this term. So again, an ENA is essentially an exclusive negotiating agreement. It's essentially the agreement that we use to negotiate with individual parties and developer entities, basically giving them the exclusive rights to negotiate. And so that's sort of the document that everyone refers to. In this case, we're looking at potentially an 18-month ENA with an additional 6-month option to extend. And that would be done administratively. And this time period essentially gives the party to conduct their due diligence on the site, to kind of look at what are the issues, underlying issues of the site. What do the soil conditions look like? Is there environmental conditions that they weren't previously aware of? Things of that sort, technical issues. So that's what the ENA phase encompasses. Also, it gives the developer an opportunity to secure CEQA approvals and get their planning entitlements in place. Also, it's a period where the developer can line up their financing if required, and also gives the opportunity for the city and the developer to negotiate and refine the term sheet. So one of the other issues on this Coliseum site is, since the city technically only owns 50% of it, another issue will be for whoever is actually awarded the city's interest. They'll also need to negotiate an agreement with the other 50% owner. So that's just some of the issues there on that. And then what is a DDA or LDDA? Sometimes you hear that expression used as well. Essentially, a DDA is a developer disposition agreement, and an LDDA is a lease developers disposition agreement. So these are the documents that we'll use at the next stage after the ENA. We're completed with all those requirements. So we'll come back to council let's say in 18 months or 24 months after all of those other previous items have been completed and wrapped up. And so we'll go back to council to again seek authorization for this phase of the process. And what does this phase actually cover? So this is an opportunity where the developer can go ahead and secure and finalize all their financing for the project. It will also give them the opportunity to obtain construction permits and approvals. So that way they'll be shovel ready when the property transfers over to them. And of course, they'll need to meet all the terms and conditions of the term sheet. And essentially, so what happens after that is, we close escrow and then the property transfers over. And then the developer can essentially start construction at that point forward. So with that, that's just a brief sort of recap. I kind of ran through that real quickly. And again, happy to answer any questions as the evening progresses or if there's further questions. So I'll turn it back over to Councilmember Reid. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. We appreciate that update. And we may, if it's not shown in one of the presentations, work to pull up that development project area, if that's helpful for those who may have questions to see. Or Larry, if you could pull that up and have that available during Q&A, I think that will be helpful for those who are watching to tune in to visualize the areas that you provided those boundaries on. Well, I also want to share for those who are joining us and seeking Spanish interpretation and translation that team is working behind the scenes. While you did not hear Rosa speaking out through this link, she was actually communicating for those who were able to listen in. But if you do require Spanish speaking interpretation, please log on to the interpretation globe and click Spanish at the bottom. We will move on to our first group for presentation, and we're excited to introduce, and our team will bring back up the PowerPoint presentation so that you can see visually those who are represented on our first team presenting tonight. Let's welcome representatives from the African American Sports and Entertainment Group, also known by AASEG. You see the many representatives of their team here. They will have a presentation led out by several members of their team, and all of the team members listed here, Mr. Robert Bobb, Ray Bobbitt, Alan Doanes, Bill Duffy, Lanice Jones, Jim Reynolds, Shonda Scott, Rufus Williams, John Jones, Samantha Wise, are all panelists and will be available to address questions as they come up for their respective areas of their project team. We welcome you, AASEG.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Reid. My name is Ray Bobbitt. I'm one of the co-founders of the African American Sports and Entertainment Group. I was born and raised in East Oakland. My grandmother actually lived next door for 60 years to Gladys Green on 78th and Rudsdale. I attended Oakland Public Schools, and my family attends church at Allen Temple Baptist Church as well as St. Benedict's Catholic Church. I grew up playing sports at Arroyo Park and at Brookfield Park in District 7. And so in coming back to my community and as an adult, I was a two-term Park and Rec Commissioner, and I served on as the president of Friends of Oakland Park and Recreation Board of Directors. In addition to that, I helped start Father Figure, which is a youth mentoring program that addresses violence in the African American and Latino community in East Oakland, and we're very effective at that. I'm here today to kick off our presentation and to talk about our vision. And our vision is specific. It's specific with respect to creating jobs. We can create up to 40,000 jobs with 16 million developmental footprint. It could be a life-changing generational project, and we're going to focus on that. In addition to that, affordable housing, quality affordable housing is something that we're very focused on with respect to this project, and we will make sure that we accomplish that. we went out and met with the community. We've met, as you know, with now over 50 community organizations. We started off with 30, and we did that prior to submitting a proposal because we wanted to make sure that our proposal was reflective of what this community wanted. We did a town hall meeting on February 3rd of 2020, and we had about 300 people who participated. Some of the things that came up from this community with respect to what they would like to see that was incorporated into our proposal was youth education and technology center, retail, including healthy grocery options, arts and culture center, Black business district, including Black-owned banks, public services that could address everything from immigration to other public services in support of our community. So I just wanted to tell you that in addition to sports and entertainment and bringing the first African-American owned WNBA team to Oakland, we, in addition to that, are looking at professional soccer, but equally as important, our focus is youth-based, it's job-based. This is an opportunity to revitalize our community, a community that has been displaced and has been gentrified. And so I would like to thank you for allowing me to come and allowing our group to come, Councilmember Reid. And with that said, I'm going to move into the first part of our presentation, which is a video.
What does it?
Try this again. Everybody, is everyone there?
Yes.
Okay, start it.
What does it mean to revitalize our community? It means valued roots. It means quality, experience, community, integrity. It means a bold vision. Founded in 2020, the African American Sports and Entertainment Group formed to create lasting economic equity through sports and entertainment, an ambitious goal set by a committed and proven team. Led by Ray Bobbitt, community leader and organizer, supported by legendary community leaders and Oakland natives, Samantha Wise, Lanice Jones, and John Jones III. Shonda Scott, CEO of 360 Total Concepts, second-generation Oakland business owner, appointed to President Obama's 2012 Platform Committee. Robert Bobb, former Oakland City Manager, former administrator and deputy mayor for Washington, D.C., who was responsible for acquiring the 2019 World Series champs, the Washington Nationals. Alan Doanes, one of the most successful developers in Oakland, second-generation Oakland developer, managing partner for Strategic Urban Development Alliance. Bill Duffy, NBA super agent, named as one of the world's most powerful sports agents by Forbes magazine. Loop Capital, largest African-American investment bank firm, responsible for placing more people of color on Wall Street than any other firm. AASEG has a proven track record with over 50 community-based endorsements on record, including the Oakland NAACP, BWAPA, Latin American Club, and Builders and Construction Trades Council of Alameda County. But don't just take my word for it. Listen to your community.
My name is Jones Tarika Lewis. I'm a native of Oakland, California.
Hello, my name is Kayla. I'm a Black businesswoman owner here in Oakland.
Hello, my name is Kyria Shabazz.
I'm here to show my support.
I'm also speaking in favor of AASEG.
Please vote yes for the AASEG proposal.
And I'm here to show strong support for AASEG.
It's really, for me, as a multi-generational Black Oakland resident, sort of a dream team.
My name is Gladys Green. What that will do to the Coliseum would generate employment, businesses, and homes, and would also create for our children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, to come to the Coliseum again like they used to.
A bold vision to revitalize Oakland with a plan to bring that vision to life. A completely reimagined, state-of-the-art Coliseum, Arena, and Convention Center. The birth of dozens of new businesses, restaurants, retail shops, and nightlife hotspots. Resources for the community to thrive. Development of affordable and quality housing. Educational facilities for the youth. Career centers. Small, local, and historically underutilized business participation. Expansion of arts and culture. Community equity, with portions of venue revenue shared with community funds for programs, scholarships, and grants. This plan by AASEG will generate 40,000 jobs over the next 10 years, facilitating the investment of over $6 billion into the city of Oakland. This would be the largest development of public land by African Americans in the country, all built and executed with transparency and integrity by and for our community. We ask that you partner with AASEG with Oakland-style loyalty and pride to nourish the deep roots of this city. Together, let's revitalize Oakland for Oakland, starting with the Coliseum.
And next we'll hear from Jim Reynolds with Loop Capital. Jim.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks, Alan. Thank you so much, Councilwoman, and also to all the constituents that are looking at this presentation. I'm Jim Reynolds, Chairman and CEO of Loop Capital Markets. We're an African-American owned, full-service investment bank and brokerage and advisory firm with over 250 employees in 24 locations throughout the United States. We're the largest African-American owned investment banking firm in United States history. When Loop Capital Markets was formed 23 years ago, it was built on 3 pillars: integrity, client service, and inclusion. These 3 pillars have guided us well and led us to our growth from our 6-person beginnings to a multi-divisional platform today. I stand before you, the same 3 pillars, to voice my support for the African American Sports and Entertainment Group Coliseum project, of which we are proud to be the financial partner. Just a little bit about our firm, just to give you a little bit of a sense of what we've done and why it is that we feel so compelled to be a great financial partner to you in the city of Oakland. Our corporate finance division has participated in over $4 trillion of debt and equity underwriting mandates since our inception, 1998. Our public finance division, which has underwritten significant amounts of debt in California, in Oakland, in LA, all parts of the state since 1997, over $4.3 billion of bonds, over $1 trillion of total financings since 2015. The fixed income division, which will be a part of this transaction, over 50 of us are dedicated to the underwriting and structuring to make sure that the underlying securities of this transaction are very, very, very well placed. And most importantly, our real estate division. That team includes 6 senior executives and support staff responsible for financing 132 major real estate transactions with an aggregate value of $14.7 billion over 25 years. We have a significant history of successful completion of complex real estate transactions, which is what this is. In addition, we've just brought on and was invested in by our strategic partner, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, CIBC, which will also work side by side with us in terms of financing the infrastructure and the debt infrastructure of this project. Within Loop Capital Real Estate, we will take the lead on this project. Our division is very vested in owning, developing, and managing commercial real estate projects with the context of economic development and renewal. Loop Capital Real Estate will work across all divisions of Loop Capital, including our infrastructure fund, which is doing several of the largest infrastructure projects in the country. Most notably, if you've flown to LaGuardia Airport and saw the new developments, that's us, in addition to JFK Airport, and we own several energy, utility, and ESG-oriented companies. We will work together with AASEG to assemble the best-in-class providers and technical developers to take this project through the entire development process. Together, we have the capacity, willingness, financial sophistication necessary to execute a complex multi-phase development of this size. We're also extremely proud that we're African-American owned, and MWBE participation will be a significant hallmark of what we will do here and what we have done in the past. We are extremely excited to work with the City of Oakland, the County of Alameda, the community groups within the city on this magnificent project. And we pledge our full support as the financial partner of the African American Sports and Entertainment Group to deliver you a project that the City of Oakland and all residents can be very, very proud of. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. My name is Alan Doanes, and I'm proud to be a part of the AASEG. We are a team of, in my opinion, the most qualified development capability in the African-American community in the country today. We are taking the project through the complex science of real estate development, from groundbreaking all the way to erection of cranes and basic ribbon cutting ceremonies and beyond, right into the ownership of the project and the complex. And I'm proud to now present quickly, in the short amount of time left, a little bit of the pillars in which our development plans are based upon. The pillars have to do with making sure that we prioritize, one, maximize job and career opportunities for people of color. 2, small business participation. 3, real estate ownership and equity for East Oakland residents. And we look to develop these jobs in all aspects of the development, from the design to the construction, right on to the jobs of the companies that come to work there. Our project will generate over 40,000 jobs going forward. We also are committed to astounding and massive and maximize economic participation by small businesses, some of which we hope to make into not so small businesses. We're committed to achieving over $1 billion of Black and Indigenous people of color, and as part of the business opportunities that extended this project. Again, Black, Indigenous people of color will also own part of this project, a good part of this project, homes, as well as other real estate opportunities. We will go and move to put in place the ability to deliver over $100 million of ownership and create that intergenerational wealth that Councilmember Reid spoke about, and most importantly, intergenerational wealth transfer. So we're going to be putting together a project also that we remain committed to bring the first African-American owned team to the City of Oakland, NFL team. I would like to, you've already heard from Loop Capital, not too many African-Americans, not too many people on the planet can mention a $4.1 trillion number associated with their business oversight. I will be participating in the project through my Mandela Partners affiliate, which is a joint venture with McFarlane Partners and my partner, Regina Davis. Regina Davis and I are currently overseeing about 3 million square feet of development on Oakland. Victor McFarlane has developed marquee projects like the Time Warner Center, invested in and developed the LA Live project, and his firm ranks in the top 5 firms in African-American real estate firms in the country. We are also proud to have our friend Ken Lombard working with us to help coordinate the affordable housing project. Ken Lombard is the new CEO of Bridge Housing, a firm that has built over 18,000 affordable housing units. And Jim Mather, the Chief Investment Officer, also someone who invested seed capital in my first project. We're really fortunate, if you can only imagine, the fact that we have 3 of the top African-American real estate finance and development professionals in the country on one team here in East Oakland for this project. And we have, I won't name all of them, a number of local real estate professionals, some of them known to people in East Oakland. We also are proud to announce that David Ajay has agreed to be part of our team. He's the designer of the African American Museum of History and Culture, and Time Magazine named him the most important architect on the planet. He will accompany JRDV International, which is the company that did the Coliseum specific plan, and they'll be accompanied by a local team of diverse architects that have a great track record themselves. So as you can see, we're giving you a lot of imagery that's really like massing study. That's because of the fact that the final development is going to be determined by the people in this room, the people on this call. Our project is going to go into intensive community engagement to finally determine how we can bring our resources, our skills, and our capabilities to deliver a project that's envisioned by the community and reflects the community's best ideas and desires. And finally, that process is going to be headed up by none other than Shonda Scott, who is exceptionally experienced and capable of making sure that the community engagement process is comprehensive and the business participation as well as employment participation achieves all of the goals. And with that, I'll turn it over to Shonda.
Thank you, Alan. In the interest of time, I will save my comments for the Q&A. Most people know me, they know I'm from Oakland. I've been here my family's been here for over half a century, and my business is in Oakland. So I will pass it to Ray Bobbitt to close us out in the interest of time on the limited time we have for our presentation and any follow-up I can do during the Q&A time.
Thank you, Shonda. And again, we want to thank everybody in District 7 for coming out and allowing us to share our vision. Again, our vision is about District 7. We've gotten all of our ideas that have been incorporated into our final proposal from our community, from this community, and we will make sure that we remain as the stewards of this process. Thank you.
Thank you so much, AASEG, for your presentation. We will have an opportunity in Q&A, as Shonda shared, for you to ask more questions of this team. And certainly during that time, if there's something that you need to reference back to your slide presentation, you are welcome to do so. We appreciate the patience. We certainly provided more time for that presentation. We are also working to ensure that our Spanish translation interpreter team are keeping up with us. And so our team is taking a little bit more time to ensure that they are slow and steady to ensure that everything is communicated to our Spanish-speaking neighbors who are listening in. We are also excited to welcome the Dave Stewart and Lonnie Murray group, who will be sharing about their vision on this proposed development site and their plans. Lonnie Murray and David Stewart are joined by Michael Johnson, and we welcome you to present your presentation at this time. And you also will have additional time as needed to complete your presentation as well, and we'll work to stay in touch with you during that presentation.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Dave Stewart. I'd like to thank District 7 and Councilmember Treva Reid for allowing the Stewart Property Group to present our vision for the Oakland Coliseum site. I grew up on 2512 Havens Court Boulevard, which is pretty much in the backyard of the Oakland Coliseum. I've worn Oakland across my chest in my youth and most of my adult life, which would represent that I am Oakland. I played baseball at Arroyo Viejo Ballpark, football, Pop Warner football at Fruitvale Field and other areas here in the Oakland area, attended Markham Elementary School, Frick Junior High School, St. Elizabeth High School, Merritt Junior College, and Cal State Hayward, which it no longer bears that name. That shows you how old I am. In the meantime, my families are members of Allen Temple Church and New Hope Baptist Church. I'd also like to say that in my period of time playing here for the Oakland A's, I built my foundation in the community and giving back to the community because I was a member of the Oakland Boys and Girls Club coming up, and I had other youth sports to level me and keep me focused on what was at hand, which was to receive scholarships and continue my education and eventually become a professional. My youth programs included a Reader Leader program, which was involving literacy for children. We had Picnic at the Park at the Oakland Coliseum, which gave to children who were less fortunate and allowed them an opportunity in a day to spend on an Oakland A's baseball field with their favorite athletes. We had Thanksgiving dinner for the homeless. We had the Kids for Kids Christmas party and toy drive, where we were asking affluent children to give toys, new and almost used toys, to kids who weren't as fortunate. We were sponsored by McDonald's, Toys R Us, and other major companies. So what I would like to say at this time is Oakland has been my home. It's been a city that I've received from, but it's also been a city that I've given back to. This is my dream. This is a dream that I want to see happen. I am happy to be a part of the Oakland community all of my life. And at this point, I would like to present Lonnie Murray, who is a partner in this venture with Stewart Property Group, and Michael Johnson, who is our development manager.
Thank you all for taking this time this evening. While we are just 3 members with you today, we stand with an incredible team of Oakland natives behind us. Brian Shaw, Damian Lillard, pastor of Axville Gospel Church, Bishop Bob, Aaron Goodwin, Marcus King, Cece Sabathia, just to name a few. Having begun this journey in 2017 and remained steadfast throughout, the focus of our proposal was rooted in an entire team's commitment to connect and strengthen current and former residents with collaborative opportunities. Our team has a lifetime dedicated to serving Oakland. On this journey, we have focused on ways to reestablish and revitalize East Oakland with the goal of positive impact on the entire Oakland community. To do so, we each collaborated our efforts with community first leaders and key stakeholders. We've outlined an incredible number of initiatives related to sustainability, community benefit, and economic drivers that allow us to advance conscious capitalism that will aptly engage community in the pursuit of social and economic responsibility, both personally and community-wide. Housing. Our proposal and team track record suggest a breakdown of 50% affordable housing and 50% market rate, subject to the approval of the A's and the city once site control is awarded and the master plan is developed. However, our Black and minority-owned banking initiatives are geared towards ridding of check cashing centers and making the unbankable bankable, and turns home owers into home owners.
Ms. Murray, I just want to take a pause here so that we can have you put your screen on presentation view to see the full presentation images that you are speaking towards. If you go into view.
I'm in view.
You're actually gonna go to slideshow.
Say that again?
Slideshow next to animations and review. You're gonna click on just a little to
We
the left.
don't see any of that.
It's directly under your toolbar. Where you see where home, insert, draw, design, transitions, animation, slideshow.
We don't have that feature. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Right there, you're right on slideshow. If you go back over past the view link, back over to slideshow. It's right under your orange bar. It's showing on our end.
There's the only orange bar that we have is from my PowerPoint.
We might just have to keep her in the same presentation mode.
You can also do Shift F5.
Or let's go to the slideshow button at the top.
I'm on a Mac.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the Mac too. So it says slideshow. It's like 4 over from home, and it says slideshow on the top of your header.
Slideshow.
See it? It says slideshow in between.
And then which view?
Slideshow or presentation view probably should be what you would click. I didn't get you.
Down at the very bottom, there are some icons at the very bottom. You see the 4 squares, and then 2 over from that, there's a little symbol. And that little symbol is the full presentation of this with the 1 slide at a time. Go down to the very bottom, 4 squares, and 2 over to the right, right there.
Thank you. Please continue. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
So
what view do you guys see now? Because every time.
It's because the arrows you're pushing, but I think whatever you're comfortable with, you should just go on with.
Yeah.
We can still see your presentation.
Yes.
We can still see the slides.
What is wrong with the view? What are you guys seeing? That's what I'm trying to.
It's just
not full
smaller.
screen.
It's just not full screen, but we can we'll follow along with you.
We've also attached a link. I sent it to you as well. If you want to post it in chat, we did not see the chat view available.
We
So
will
these are available. So as I was saying, let's see here. Let's move some of this. Does that help?
Yes, that's fine. And we will put the chat, put the link to your presentation and any other ones from AASEG. Please share with our team for us to add to the chats for the public to review those details.
Okay, what you can see here is Coliseum Plaza. Our proposal and team track record suggest a breakdown of 50% affordable housing and 50% market rate, subject again to approval by the A's in the city once site control is awarded and the master plan is developed. However, our Black and minority-owned banking initiatives are geared toward ridding of check cashing centers and making the unbankable bankable and turning home owers into homeowners. Our small business initiatives. Oakland has lost a staggering number of small businesses during COVID, many with resources to build back, many without the resources to build back. As noted in our initiatives, Black and minority-owned banking institutions are key contributors to the success of not only residents, but of local businesses, as studies prove such institutions increase Black and brown investment opportunities. Unfortunately, lacking credit hinders investments in minority-owned businesses, as well as better homes, better schools, better local infrastructure, such as road and public transportation, and even healthcare. Here we have Rickey Henderson Field. Rickey Henderson Field and Coliseum Plaza will also serve as nationally recognized youth facilities that will allow Oakland to serve as a destination for youth sports, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry that our entire team is familiar. Families travel nationally to attend sporting events for their children. The location of this site and the quality of the facilities we have outlined in our proposal make the Coliseum site a prime destination for any scale sporting events, from soccer to tennis, baseball, softball, football, etc. We have met with willing major hotel partners to round out this entertainment and retail destination for all surrounding areas as well, to serve as a destination for airport and public transit travelers, as well as having outlined our increased pedestrian circulation and enhanced bike walkways. Oracle Arena revitalization. From the beginning, we have explored innumerable ways to reestablish Oracle Arena as a premier concert, entertainment, and sporting destination. Having explored everything from standard events to forward-thinking virtual and AI events, we are driven to increase use of the arena as local businesses will benefit from the increased traffic. Oakland native and the first and only Black manager to represent an Oscar winner, Marcus King, who is a member of our team, has worked diligently with other Bay Area artists to identify the means of utilizing the lower level of the arena to house incubator-style music and film production studios, as well as create curriculum and opportunities in and for development and entertainment studios. We are proud to highlight that we are the first team to have met with the WNBA. After meetings with the CEO and the CFO and exploring the economic impact for the community, we stepped back from the pursuit of ownership. We unequivocally support a team in Oakland, but with WNBA not currently being an economic driver and a source of only seasonal supplemental jobs, the pursuit of ownership would be a drain on resources if granted ownership of the Coliseum site, thus needing to be centered on economic revitalization of the East Oakland community. If granted site control, we welcome any incentivized structure for a WNBA ownership group to lease the space, including AASEG. Data centers. Data centers drive innovation, and innovation drives our economy. According to the 2017 US Chamber of Commerce findings, when communities support data centers, those centers in turn create jobs, improve local public infrastructure, and encourage skills training for workers and businesses, in addition to driving significant economic growth. Data centers on average employ 1,600 local workers, provide 77 million in wages for those workers, produce 243 million in output along the local economy's supply chain, generating 9.9 million in revenue for state and local governments. Additionally, yearly operation supports another 157 local jobs and 7.8 million in wages. Each year, data centers generate 32.5 million in economic activity within local communities. In addition to property and sales taxes paid directly by the data center, local governments receive an additional 1.1 million per year in individual income and sales tax. Data centers are living wage and above living wage job generators for individuals with and without college degrees, even those re-entering our society. The Hall of Fame. The Oakland Hall of Fame is a comprehensive cultural and historical destination that will be devoted to highlighting the history of Oakland and the people and events that shaped it. Inspired by the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., Oakland's Hall of Fame will take visitors on a journey through the rich history of events, as well as display individuals from all walks that have impacted our beloved community and the world. Whether through music, arts, politics, performing arts, activism, or sports, these are the stories, the voices, the legacies we boast that make all who call Oakland home proudly Oakland strong. Conscious capitalism. Capitalism has held a negative connotation with low to middle income communities. Misguided understandings plague our community to advance and develop at a higher level within our Black and Brown communities. By introducing conscious capitalism, we can aptly engage community in the pursuit of social and economic responsibility, both personally and community-wide. Our incubator buildings provide programs, services, and will house young investors for startups or sole entrepreneurships. As an example, our focus on a top to bottom, bottom to top ecosystem will allow Oracle Arena to serve as an extension of education opportunities for youth and adults of all ages, as well as the incubator programs both in person and virtually, with offerings that range from high-level keynote speakers, on-site mentorship programs, etc. We want our youth and those helpless or feeling forgotten to have hope. That is what our plan focuses on. We want Oakland to provide opportunities that allow people, our residents, our community to aspire and ascend within the community they call home. We want our community to be able to say, I want to work there one day. Our entire team thanks you.
Thank you. Ms. Murray, I just wanted to let you know that we did receive some feedback from our interpretation team. If you could please just slow down in your remarks as we continue.
We just completed.
Perfect. Okay. Well, with that being said, we'll share that note for the Q&A portion, which we will move on to next. If you could please stop sharing your screen.
Oh, there's one more thing. Can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. And I'll go slow.
Thank you.
We think it's important to highlight some of the comments that are made by the rest of our team because this is extremely near and dear to them as well. Damian Lillard noted that one of his greatest commitments is to my hometown of Oakland. Having grown up in the Coliseum area, it is important to me to make a difference for the community that made me who I am today. This is the reason I support the Dave Stewart and Lonnie Murray group, given our joint commitment to youth education and economic development for the community I grew up. It should be noted that Damian has already begun the process of starting a charter school in East Oakland near the Coliseum. Bishop Bob also came out in support. He has been engaged with us for probably the last 7 months now. We're happy to have him on board. As you all know, he's the pastor of Acts Full Gospel Church in Oakland. He's lived here and lived in Oakland his entire life. He's got a membership of over 5,000 and a ministry of over 32. He has encouraged all residents and community leaders to support us as well. Brian Shaw, our Stewart Murray group is built upon the collective sweat and tears of our entire team who have worked hard behind the cameras and without political ties or promises to ensure our efforts were rooted in a commitment only to the community each of us came from. We focused on initiatives that give back to the community what we have been given, from pride in our roots with the proposed Hall of Fame to the arts and entertainment of our Liberty Square. Our team's relationships and successes are built upon the backs of one another. Growing up, even if we didn't know one another directly, we knew them and found inspiration in what they accomplished. Most of all, we have worked on our proposal to reestablish our Oakland home as the destination of innovation, culture, history, and social justice. We owe it to those before us to lay the foundation for those after us. This is what our team represents.
Kiana, hello, Kiana and Shonda.
Yes.
Since we were yielding extra time, I'd like to reintroduce myself. I gave the time because I was trying to keep interest and time on our presentation. So if I could have a moment to reintroduce myself to everybody.
Okay.
Yes.
The Murray group.
Let me just let Miss Murray finish her final ones. There's actually time still on the clock. When I raised my hand, it was to actually let her know that there was interpretation requests for her to slow down. So she actually still has a few more moments from the time that we had given your team additionally. So if we could allow her to finish, that would be great.
Right, that's fine. I just went before the Q&A, I just wanted to just reintroduce myself for our part because I yielded the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are really thankful to have had Michael Johnson as part of our team. I'd love for him to speak more about himself. We have him listed here. He's here joining us this evening. He's an Oakland-based Black developer with over 45 years of experience. He's got an architect and developer background, having completed over 32 projects with 3,000 housing units at a cost of $1 billion. Extensive development experience in Oakland, San Francisco, Richmond, and Sacramento's Black and transitional communities. He's developed in West Oakland and East Oakland, recently completed the only mixed income market rate housing project in East Oakland as a Black developer, with 50% market rate and 50% affordable. Working with the Oakland Economic Development Court, former Councilmember Larry Reid, and another one of our team members, Ray Leone. He also boasts over 40 years experience working with community-based groups, local governments at the city, state, and county to access funding to support community benefits. He has strong relationships and access to all the major banks to access financing as well as institutional investors. His role with us is to represent our ownership group in negotiations with the A's to solicit proposals and vet relationships with major institutional developers for the Coliseum site. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, Lonnie, thank you for that overview. I just want to add to what you were saying, that over the 32 years that I have been here in Oakland as a resident and a business owner, we have focused on projects that have helped to revitalize specifically Black and transitional communities. And the East Oakland area definitely falls into that category. We've worked in revitalizing the Fillmore District, the Easter Hill District in Richmond. We've worked in the Hunters Point area in San Francisco, and now are currently working in East Oakland. And as you mentioned, we've completed one of the few market rate mixed income projects at the Coliseum BART station. One of the things that I want to comment in terms of distinguishing our team, because there are a number of very qualified people that are on the other team, is that our roots are local. We are a local developer, and we're taking the approach here with the resources that Dave and Lonnie bring to the table, that we're going to, once selected, to help work with our architecture team to create a master plan that will offer opportunities for numerous institutional developers to partner with us. I think that that's the important aspect of this, is that, you know, for many years, this site has been ignored. There have been RFPs of this nature throughout the Bay Area, and at no time has the Coliseum area really received the kind of attention that it deserves. We now have 2 Black teams that are pursuing this. And at the end of the day, we feel like our team is best qualified for this because of the local resources that will be brought to bear to this effort. In particular, my company, we have—
Mr. Johnson, I apologize. Yes. I extended time for your group to meet the time that we had given to the first group. And so if you could wrap up in less than a minute, that would be great with what you're about to share.
Okay. I'll make the last point is that with all our projects, we've emphasized job training, the hiring of local Black and brown subcontractors and women-owned businesses. And it's not just something that is, you know, a pillar for discussion, but something that we have actually done in projects that we've completed. So I'll leave it at that. And thank you for all in the community who've attended this event tonight.
Thank you so much, David Stewart, Lonnie Murray, your group, including Mr. Johnson, for participating in that presentation. And Shonda, if you could take a minute to provide some highlights on you and your business leadership in the city.
Thank you, Councilmember Reid. Thank you for the grace too and the time. And I'd like to reintroduce myself. Good evening. I am Shonda Scott, and I'm an Oakland native, many know, but I was actually born in District 7 at Oak Knoll Naval Hospital. I believe the only hospital in actually District 7. So I literally was born in District 7. My mother was a lieutenant in the United States Navy at the time. My family has lived in District 7 and owned property for almost half a century. And my business, as I said, is located in District 7. Personally, over 20 years, I have 20 years experience of administering small business programs with notable best practices recognized nationally. Programs that do include using historically underutilized small local businesses right here in Oakland with major developments and capital programs that have led to $500 million being reinvested back into the local community. On this project, we started with the community because that's our best practice. Before we even submitted our proposal, we met with over 30 community groups for their buy-in, for your buy-in as our thought partners. And that's what we're going to do throughout the entire process. And that was pretty much, I'll just stop there with, we started with the community. We want to hear what you wanted to say. And now we will continue with the community throughout the process. And that's a best practice that everybody knows that we are noted for doing and have had success doing that in Oakland and throughout the United States. So thank you, Councilmember Reid and your staff for putting this together and offering grace to us. These projects are so large. Of course, we could talk about them each for an hour, and with our expertise on teams, it could go on forever. So thank you.
My exact words. There is so much to hear from both of these development teams, and grace is what we live by on our team. And so absolutely have that grace. And now we have the opportunity to present to you questions. Kiana will lead us in the Q&A and help to moderate the questions that we've received in chat and on social media. And we thank you for the grace to extend that time at least to 7:45 to give at least 30 minutes for Q&A for our neighbors and those who are listening even from citywide.
Awesome. So before we get started with Q&A, did just want to go over a few ground rules. The first, of course, is just being respectful, particularly for the individuals who have their hand raised and will be asking their questions live. Again, want to reiterate, please speak slowly for our Spanish interpretation team. And then also, if you have a specific question, please be sure to indicate which team you would like to pose that question to. And so with that being said, the first question is for the Stewart Murray group, and one of our residents would like to know with what community groups has the Stewart group engaged and when?
We've engaged and been longtime supporters and board members of Coaching Corps, alongside the Haas family, who is also a supporter of our group. The Oakland Boys and Girls Club, the national chapter of 100 Black Men, has endorsed us. Who else? Who did you go? David's gone and done meet and greets.
I've done meet and greets with several high schools in the area. I didn't call anybody to let them know that I was doing that. But I've had several meet and greets with some of the local high schools and elementary schools in the area as well.
Awesome, thank you so much. Our next question is for AASEG. And one of our residents remembers that an NFL team being originally a part of the vision. Is that off the table?
I can answer that, and that is not off the table. As you may or may not know, we have been in negotiations with the NFL for some time. We have received framework from the NFL. We're in the highest level of negotiations with Jeff Miller, who's an executive vice president, third down from Commissioner Roger Goodell. But I do want to say this, is that what brought our group together was the NFL and the first African-American majority-owned NFL team. But what we realized and what became much more important for me growing up in East Oakland was the revitalization of our community. So whether our project is not contingent upon getting an NFL team, although that's something that we're very interested in doing, our project is about revitalizing East Oakland and not allowing it to be gentrified and not allowing for our community to be displaced.
Awesome, thank you. We will now move into our live Q&A questions. And for some reason, I'm going to actually ask, I'm going to ask either Haley or Rosa to unmute one of our Q&A. Someone who would like to ask the question live. And it looks like Luis. So you may unmute yourself. Luis? Okay. If not, we will move along to another written question for the Stewart Murray group, which is from Dr. Cruz. What do you consider affordable housing, and who would this actually be for? Why 50% market rate, which is the rate of gentrification?
I can answer that. Historically, within the city of Oakland and most government agencies, the projects are developed where there's a percentage of inclusionary affordable housing, and it ranges anywhere from 10 to 15%. It's a very modest standard. In the projects that we have worked on, we have achieved anywhere from 30 to 50%. And of that total, they have ranged in the case of rental properties for families that are from 30 to 60% of AMI, or from 80 to 120% of AMI, which is workforce housing. When it comes to for sale housing, generally the targets for sale are units that are ranging from 80 to 120% of area median income for affordable families. The key is that we will establish a goal that exceeds what the minimum standard is for this area. And in doing so, the effort is to try to bring more affordable housing like we have done with the Coliseum project, where we're mixing 50% of the market rate tenants with 50% of the affordable tenants. And so it's important that we have a balance so that we can reduce the gentrification that is occurring in the community already.
Okay, perfect. The next question is for both groups, which is, who is your capital partner? Are they Black owned?
Yes, TH King, and yes, it is Black owned.
Yes, it is Black owned.
I can answer it for African American Sports and Entertainment Group. I'm CEO of Loop Capital Markets. We're Black-owned investment bank, the largest Black-owned investment bank in the United States. I will tell you my views on this. This is a very large, very complex, multi-phase project that'll probably be built over a decade or 15 years, accumulating $8 to $10 billion. When you can take a project of this complexity and magnitude and mirror that with an African American owned capital partner that has done big deals before, that's accustomed to handling large institutional investors and developers, it's a marriage that rarely ever comes together. But this is not a place to kind of learn to be a developer on. So I think we're very excited to be a part of this group and to bring our credentials to the added to this group and to work the city of Oakland. So we're thrilled about that.
Okay, and could you all provide the links to your partners for the residents to review? I know that you all have access to the Q&A function, but if you want to just send them to the D7 team, we'll repost those for people on Facebook. All right, moving along.
Excuse me, Kiana, sorry. Do you mean links like a link to the web to link to Loop's page or something? Is that what you mean by links? Yeah. Or okay, thank you.
This question is for either team as well. What programs do you work with when it comes to the incarcerated?
So I can answer that. We are currently in a partnership with Job Corps, and we have created a specific reentry process and a reentry program with Job Corps. Job Corps is working with us right now to create a satellite from its Treasure Island location. And one of the things that's critical about this piece of it is that me growing up in East Oakland and me being in East Oakland, I understand that one of the reasons why the centerpiece of our proposal is around creating up to 40,000 jobs is because one of the quickest ways and one of the most direct ways to prevent our young people from being from returning to incarceration is job training. And so we will have a job training institution that will be set up through Job Corps. We're in negotiations with them through the labor unions as well. In Washington, D.C., we just got an approval for that. That project was brought to us by Bill Duffy, so we're very appreciative of that. But we will have a reentry program that will speak specifically to people who live in East Oakland, who live in District 7, who can come and re-enter back into the job market. And I just want to also talk real quickly. John Jones III, who is on our team, he is re-entered, and I want him to just finalize that question.
Thank you, Ray. I'll be brief. Good evening, everybody. My name is John Jones III. I'm formerly incarcerated. I spent nearly the last decade fighting for the rights of formerly incarcerated people and their loved ones in Oakland. And that includes recently in my former role as the director of the Alameda County Fair Chance Housing Coalition, we passed the strongest ban-the-box ordinance in the nation for the cities of Oakland and Berkeley. So people returning home no longer have to worry about their criminal record being a barrier. That's something I've also done as it relates to employment, public safety, including recently the Oakland Police Commission have appointed someone who's formerly incarcerated. And lastly, I would say I have a lot of friends and relatives in the district who are formerly incarcerated. So that's the work that I do. And that is a focus that has been a part of this proposal, which includes allowing a humble guy like me who grew up in poverty to be a part of such a wonderful team.
We work we work with Stand Up program. One of our members, Biff Roberts, is actually a board member for that program. It's out of San Quentin, and one of the reasons for our initiatives, especially with job development, we were very cognizant and conscious, which is why I addressed it earlier when we spoke about the data centers, in providing opportunities for reentry.
I would also mention that I work closely with No More Tears program, headed by founder Lonnie Morris, who spent 47 years in San Quentin. I've made many trips to San Quentin and am honored to be working with Lonnie and the likes of Boss and others in really putting together innovative assistance and programs for reentry as well.
And I just want to end with John Jones. We appreciate you. One of the things that we've done in our project through the African American Sports and Entertainment Group LLC is John Jones is one of our equity partners. And so we feel like it's really important to make sure that we implement and execute with respect to immediate equity. And so John Jones, we're appreciative of everything that you've done, and we will make sure that the community has the opportunity to work directly through this process and be able to benefit from the equity of this project.
Jeez. Perfect. All right, we are going to move into live questions. I did see Miss Tanya's hand early on, and so you may unmute yourself and ask your question. Miss Dumas, you are permitted to speak.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question is, I guess, to both sides, working with the A's, being that it'll be 50-50, how is that going to work? Has anyone spoken to them to see how, if they have any thoughts or insights on it? This, as the gentleman said, is going to take a long time to get done, but it's going to take even longer if they can't come to any agreements.
Yes, we've actually met with, like I said, we started our conversations with the A's back in 2017. Up until 2019, they themselves were making a pretty heavy push to gain site control, 100% site control. When it started to look possible and likely that another group would be able to step in, that's when we came forward. We put together the plan. We knew what their community benefits were that they had already outlined. But moving along from that, in conversations with Cabell, we made sure that it was very clear that our initiatives, although sometimes in conflict with respect to community benefit, was agreeable, which he has noted publicly that the vision is something he could stand behind and support.
And he has given us 100% of his support.
And I'll go ahead and answer that from the AASEG perspective. Well, first of all, we worked on the Coliseum specific plan. The Coliseum specific plan started in 2015. And me as a person who's deeply rooted in this community, worked closely with that. In the Coliseum specific plan, it specifically states that anything that happens at the Coliseum has to be mandated through that plan. So it's very critical that we have that relationship and we keep that relationship. But more importantly, in our negotiations with the city, one of the things that came out of our negotiations with the city is a commitment from the city to make sure that upon close of escrow of this property, that property would be delivered unencumbered, which means that there would be no encumbrance on the property, because we realize that having the property be encumbered would make it difficult for anybody to move anything on the site. So that's really important to understand, that the city agreed in its terms to make sure that they negotiate on behalf of whoever the group is, to make sure that there's either one of two things that occur. Either a joint ownership agreement comes out of that, so that we can work together to make sure that we work together with whoever owns the other side, the A's of the county. And we want to make sure also that in that process, that we are not held up during that process. So that was a very critical piece of our negotiation. We realized that there may have been different relationships with the A's, but if the city stepped up and said that we're going to deliver this site unencumbered, that's critical. And the reason why that happened is when the Coliseum was developed, there was no joint ownership agreement between the city of Oakland and the county of Alameda, which means that it's just an in-kind ownership. So there was nothing that determined who owned what or what side or whatever the case may be. So what had to happen was, we realized that we needed an ownership agreement on the site no matter what. And that's something that the A's or any other developer would have to be agreeable to. And the city has made a commitment to help in that process. So that was an excellent objective that Robert Bobb, the former city manager of Oakland, who was on our team, was able to deliver to us to make sure that we had assurances that we would be able to work together with the A's on the project. Thank you.
But keeping in mind that the A's still have to agree and no one can force them to agree.
We're going to have the city speak to that. So
Perfect.
If you could speak to that. And I would just ask for just allowing Kiana to moderate. She will call on when there are questions for both of you. She will, make sure that there's just equity in how we allow one team to speak prior to the other when you have the opportunity to speak. Kelly, if you could please speak to that, and or Larry from the city. Thank you.
Sure. So essentially, one of the items and key ENA terms that we came up with as far as both teams are concerned was that regardless of who the city would ultimately select as the 50% owner of the city's interest, that the city would in fact assist and coordinate those efforts to ensure that there's some sort of an agreement that's reached with the other 50% owner of the Coliseum. So that was a commitment that came out of these negotiations. So it's true that the city will be a part of those eventual negotiations in the future moving forward.
Kelly, would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would just add that as to put a little more nuance on it, that each of the teams agreed that they would take the lead in negotiating an agreement with the other 50% owner, whoever it ends up being. And as Ray said, the city will cooperate with those conversations, but we should be clear that the term in the ENA would be that it is the responsibility of whichever developer is selected to lead that process and seek the agreement. And we will help and cooperate wherever we can, because it's in everyone's best interest, including the communities, that both property owners are working together. But the obligation does lie with the developer that's selected with our cooperation.
And I do want to add just that one of the other elements is that the city has land use rights, and that's really important. And so, okay, but I just wanted to just finish with it.
We want to make sure that we give enough time to answer a lot of the questions that are still there. We're already beyond our 7:30 committed.
No problem.
So let's take some additional questions.
I'm glad they confirmed that. I just wanted to say that the city has land use rights, and I just wanted to make sure I put that in there.
Awesome. If we can move on to the next question or the next caller. We do have a phone number ending in 0794. You are allowed to speak. Caller ending in 0794.
Yes, good evening, everyone. This is Mrs. Cecilia Cunningham. I have a question for AASEG. I want to know this. If your proposal is accepted by the council, I want to know what have you all set a deadline to get started to work if you're accepted? And how long will it take this project to be completed?
That's a great question. And one of the things that we have to take into consideration is two things. First of all, the A's are going to be there until December of 2024. So there you have a lease until December of 2024. However, once we are accepted with the ENA, we can begin the pre-development process and we can begin the pre-entitlement process. And that will be very important for us because we realize that once we want to be in a position that once the A's actually leave the site, that instead of waiting for that to happen, that we can begin this process immediately of pre-development and pre-entitlement. So we're timing that process to make sure that it aligns correctly with that. And so that's part of our strategy. The other thing that I think the city can confirm is in our negotiations, one of the things that the city committed to is they will not release the title of the property until it's not encumbered. And so that's really important because that's going to motivate everybody involved to make sure that there's a joint ownership agreement so we can move this project faster. And we're committed, Ms. Cunningham, and I know you know my family, we're committed to this process and we're committed to move it very quickly because we don't have time in East Oakland to wait. And so that's why we're so excited about moving this forward so we can begin building at the moment that the A's throw their last pitch there.
Actually, I want to clarify because while the A's do have a lease until 2024, as Mr. Gallegos pointed out at the beginning, they are already in negotiations to extend the lease until 2026. So we too would begin as soon as that's all decided.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. Ms. Cheryl Ward, you are allowed to speak.
Let me just share this. The Oakland A's, I understand they have requested to negotiate an extension on their existing licensing, but those negotiations have not commenced.
Reverend Ward.
Yes, hi, this is Reverend Cheryl Ward, and my question is to both groups. What strategies do you have in place to train and employ youth throughout the entire process, and then to a pipeline into some permanent employment once the facility is open, and that's either employment or entrepreneurship?
As I mentioned earlier, having been a former foster kid, that part was extremely important to me. Going through the system and learning more about what is happening in Oakland from some of our other partners, that children are being phased out of the system with nowhere to go, no opportunities for education or employment. And so again, with the data centers, and the incubators, it allows for education opportunities, at the same time, job opportunities for youth. Again, giving them something to ascend to and be proud of.
Yeah, I'd like to.
I can touch on that. I can touch on that with respect to AASEG, and I'll let Alan finish the question. But John Jones III, we've already started the process. This is a gentleman who's shown a tremendous commitment in East Oakland with reentry, and is going to be one of the people that is going to be the focal point and lead this process with respect to real live time in the community, in the trenches, not theoretically, but in the trenches leading this process. And as I talked about before, we are already in a negotiation and already working together with Job Corps to create a training center within the project. And that training center would be a pipeline directly back into the community with respect to young people being able to walk to this training facility. And in Job Corps, you can either have an education component, you can come in with an ROP, you can come in and get training right into a job position. And so that's something that we've worked on, and it's a very, very serious focal point in our project. So Alan, you could finish up.
Yeah, I'd like to say that we have been working over the years, and even more recently with a great coalition of people, including the likes of Cypress Mandela Training Center. Just a few weeks ago, we formed an alliance. We got letters of participation and support with Oakland Unified School District, Peralta Community College District, University of California, Mills College for our early childhood education. And we are working tirelessly to make sure that coded into the DNA of this project is not only the opportunity for people to work in the design and the planning, for people to work in the construction of it, but we're coding in the opportunity for kids and people from Oakland and East Oakland in particular that have been grotesquely underinvested in, and make sure that they are part of the jobs of the future. And whether that's life sciences and data processing, supercomputing, the new technologies of mobility. We have actual alliances right now with NVIDIA, Google, and other entities, and we have letters of support from these people. So that's just a little bit of the work, that ongoing work that's going on that this project will enjoy. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next question, which appears to be directed to AASEG, if you all would like to answer first. But it does say numbers like 40,000 jobs seem pretty high. How many of those jobs are permanent, and how many of those are for construction?
We have a statistical data sheet that Alan can share with respect to where we get these numbers from. And it comes back to the full development footprint. So when you have 16 million square feet of development footprint, that's where you calculate that job activity. The other thing before Alan shares this data is that our development is not just about the Coliseum site. We want to extend the revitalization east. We want to extend it east. We want it to go in both directions on East 14th. We want it to go both directions in Bancroft, and we want it to go both directions in MacArthur. But more importantly, right within the 112 acres and the surrounding parcels, we will show you how we get that data. So Alan, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, well, if you take, for example, there was some conversation about data. There was conversation about the technologies that are on fire right now, like life science studies. And those uses generate somewhere between 4 and 6 people per 1,000 square feet. And so when you start to look at that and what that means, you know, if you think about a project that has a development envelope of 16 million square feet, then you divide that in half so that you can add some conservative approach to it. Those are the way that we are looking at those numbers. And those are jobs that are going to be ongoing. Those are permanent jobs. We're going to have several thousand construction jobs. You look at that, there's ways that we've calculated and estimated that. But again, a lot of this is going to be over time as the project grows. And what we're committed to is coding into the DNA these job manifesting for the benefit of people in East Oakland. And the other thing is making sure that it starts to accrue from right now. I will say that in answering the earlier question, I would just add that we will begin a massive process the minute an ENA is signed. And that process is going to involve a lot of site study. There's environmental work that has to be done. Some of those things involve a lot of construction. There's a lot of survey work. There's just areas of participation that happen from the beginning, from the earliest aspects of the project, and happen for generations going forward.
Perfect. And the Stewart Mary Group, if you'd like to answer that question as well.
We actually never promised 40,000 jobs.
No, not specifically 40,000. However,
yeah. So
how many jobs are permanent and exclusively for construction?
The jobs that we noted are 100% permanent. We did not go after any sort of plan that was seasonal jobs. Again, one of the reasons we stepped away from WNBA ownership. One of the other things is, I mean, you could speak to it, you and Bishop Bob's plan, the plans that Walter Robb is also part of our team, the former CEO of Whole Foods. Stephen Bird is an advisor to our team, the 32-year CEO of Safeway. And we have driven around the community. We have identified locations. Again, we started looking at parcels prior to submitting our proposal outside of the Coliseum site, and advised by members of council that site control would need to be granted before we could explore the other parcels. That said, again, we have made great efforts with those individuals as well as Bishop Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to make this clear, we are not strictly about the Coliseum property itself either. I've traveled with Bishop Bob one day for 4 hours, looking at the different developments that he has throughout East Oakland, ranging as far as 98th Avenue and San Leandro, all the way up to 98th Avenue and Bancroft, going all the way down to Seminary and International. So I'm looking at all these properties. We've talked about a partnership with my development group and with my financiers to get those properties up and running so that he can accomplish what he wants to accomplish as well with those properties. And as you know, Bishop Bob has childcare centers. He's got all different type of ventures that are strictly community oriented. And so we plan to move forward on those. But if you know Bishop Bob, you know that his reach and the amount of property and land that is owned by his church is a lot. And as I said, we've already talked about a partnership and getting those properties done. As a matter of fact, we're going to speak with my financer in the morning.
Perfect. Okay, so we are at that 7:45 marker. We do want to ask just one more question, but we are requesting the teams to limit their responses to 1 minute each. And that question is, what is your proposed ownership opportunities for the community?
Well, I can answer that for our team. If you look at our proposal, that's a public proposal now in the city council's hands. We have a community equity plan that is very specific and deliberate. We are proposing that there will be a percentage of the development for the duration of the development, for the entirety of it, that a percentage, a service fee could go towards a specific community fund. And this was brought up during our town hall meeting. And this fund would be managed by community groups that are already active in the community, of which, as you are aware, 50 have endorsed us and supported us. And so this would be a project in which we would have a community fund, and it would be an equity fund. And that equity fund could be funded, and it could go to things like, if you lived in this community, in the direct community, and you had great credit and you had a good job, but you just couldn't afford the down payment, that could be something that could be utilized with respect to a grant that could give you a down payment. If you were interested in starting a business in this community, within the immediate vicinity of this community, you could go to that fund and get a grant that would allow for you to have a startup fee for your business. If you wanted education and you lived in this community, there'd be an opportunity for you to go to this fund and get education. So those are the ways that we can have equity. It is in our plan. It's been in our plan from the beginning. And it's an excellent opportunity for our community to be involved. Equally as important, one of the things that the city talked about and we talked about was an opportunity to have a partnership with the city that would allow for the community to have a direct benefit. So we're in negotiations right now as a part of one of the elements of our proposal. So we are very versed at it. We're very happy about it, and we feel like our community equity plan is excellent.
Okay.
This is a
allow a little bit more time than a minute. So
Oh, it's okay. We're pretty pointed. We discussed this with the A's directly. We feel that it's important to first get it on the table, which we did. They have absolutely agreed that this would be a discussion that would take place. One of the things that in the community groups that we have discussed it with, we felt that it should be open to all community groups that are truly rooted in Oakland, as well as individuals that are from Oakland, not someone who just moved there, but actually those with roots. So once site control is given, that would be part of the community benefits package that we would absolutely move forward with in discussions with the A's, in addition to allowing community groups to be part of that discussion.
Perfect. I do see 5 hands raised. I'm going to ask those attendees to please leave their comments in the chat. We will be capturing in a Google Doc, and any of the questions that we weren't able to get to this evening, we will be forwarding along to the groups. So please, 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 thank you so much for this lively Q&A discussion. I will happily pass it back to Councilmember Reid.
Well, thank you, Kiana, for moderating the Q&A and for the team that's been supporting in the back, particularly our Spanish interpretation and translation team. I know you've been working to keep up with all of this discussion and presentation. This is a big deal. And even as I see Donna Griggs-Murphy's statement in here, it says that the D7 community deserves the site to flourish with jobs and affordable housing and many community services and benefits. Those terms are yet to be fully realized and discussed. They will be a part of this conversation as we progress through this process. And the process tomorrow is a big part for us. On tomorrow, November 16th, City Council, we will consider the resolutions before us with both of the developers who've presented that would authorize exclusive negotiating agreements for the acquisition and the development of the city's share, that 50% undivided parcel that's been discussed of the Coliseum complex with either the AASEG group or the Dave Stewart, Lonnie Murray group. We ask that you please join us tomorrow at our city council meeting. It is at 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. This agenda item will be heard fully with all council members weighing in that discussion. There will be an opportunity for public comment for those of you who wish to speak further, present any questions. And I too, as our team has shared, will take the questions that have not been answered and share those back with both teams with hopes to have answers prior to tomorrow's meeting. This has been a full discussion, and we know that we can talk for hours longer about this. There's so much to be said, and I just have to acknowledge Josiah, who is there. It's wonderful to see our youth engaged in this on cameras. I'm sure many are off camera. I want to thank our neighbors. Your voice is important. I have shared with you that you are our priority in this office, serving you and representing your interests in this process. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for your feedbacks and questions. We will host community conversations beyond tonight's to engage you and your voice on how we address the terms and the agreements that will come from the ENA. I want to thank you, AASEG. I want to thank you, Stewart Murray Group, and thank you for our Economic Workforce Development team for being present, answering the questions, and participating with us, as we will have more questions that will come out of this for you. I would encourage you to subscribe to our District 7 newsletter. Our team will drop that in the chat for you to stay abreast of our action alerts on the Coliseum and also an upcoming community conversation on Howard Terminal. That is another big project that is impacting us citywide, and certainly as a district, we want to weigh into that conversation as well. Again, have a wonderful evening, and thank you for all the support that you've provided and your presentation to help guide us in this discussion.
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councilmember.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks, Councilmember Reid.
Great.
And thank you, District 7.
Thank you, District 7. Let's continue to stay plugged in. This is our project.
Nos vemos, hermanos y hermanas.